What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. What I have today is just an absolute ridiculous video, okay? It almost makes just no sense to do this. I'm going to be putting tier lists for my NHL teams, pretty much teams that I think are cup favorites, teams I think should make the playoffs, maybe will make the playoffs, and then teams that I think like have no shot of making the playoffs. You guys will see the tiers once I make it. Absolutely ridiculous because free agency is not even done. We don't even know what every team's going to look like. We don't even know what these teams are going to look like. There's still trades that could happen. But regardless, I think it's still going to be really, really fun to take a look at this and just try to give a decent ranking if you even can give a decent. Before we get into this though, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, mean a lot if you guys subscribed, like the video if you enjoyed. Let's get into this. So you guys can see on the screen here, we got my rankings. We got cup faves, should make the playoffs, maybe, almost 0% shot, and then how are you even in the NHL, which are only going to have a few teams. My bad, Arizona and Chicago, my bad. So the Anaheim Ducks are going to be the first team that I put in maybe. I truthfully think the Anaheim Ducks have a legit shot at making the playoffs. I don't think they're the best, but I don't think they're the worst team at all. Boston Bruins, I'm going to put them in should make the playoffs. I truthfully think the Boston Bruins should make the playoffs. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I just think they're always going to be that team that should make the playoffs. Carolina Hurricanes, I'm also going to put in should make the playoffs. Pretty self-explanatory. I think they're one of the better teams in the league, and I would be absolutely shocked, like mind blown, if they didn't. I honestly was tempted to put them in cup faves, but I think I'm just going to leave them in should make the playoffs. Avalanche, I'm putting obviously in cup faves, pretty self-explanatory. Columbus Blue Jackets, I'm gonna honestly put an almost 0% shot. I just don't see them making the playoffs. I look at their depth chart and it's just not very good. I know they got Johnny Gaudreau, which is super helpful for them. They just don't wow me as a team. I just don't see them and think this team's making it, especially in the Eastern Conference when there's so many good teams. The Dallas Stars is almost a perfect team for maybe. I think they have a maybe percent chance. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're kind of 50-50. If they didn't make the playoffs, I'm not surprised. If they did, I'm not surprised. Shockingly, the Detroit Red Wings, I'm putting in maybe. I think the Detroit Red Wings are really good this year. Like, looking at them on paper, they have improved a lot. I think they're really going to put in a good fight to get the wild card spot over in their division. I think it's going to be really entertaining hockey. Florida Panthers, I'm putting them in cup favorites. I know they've had their woes in the playoffs, but I still think it's hard to debate and argue against a good team. Like, jokes aside in the playoffs, they're a good team. I still think they're considered a cup favorite, and it's kind of crazy to think that they're not from some people. Edmonton Oilers, I'm torn between maybe or should, because there's a part of me that thinks their playoff run was kind of luck. But there's also a part of me that thinks they should in our division make the playoffs. I'm going to put them in should just based off our division. The Pacific Division's so weak that this team, I think, truthfully should make the playoffs. New York Islanders, see, I'm torn between this team too. 2 seasons ago, they were so good. Got them to the playoffs, they did so good, but they're not a good regular season team. Last year showed that, so because of that, I'm going to put them in maybe. I think if you get them to the playoffs, they can do pretty good things, but I think it's hard to get them there. I just don't know. I'm not sold. LA Kings, I'm also going to put in maybe, and the Minnesota Wild, I'm going to put in maybe. These are 2 teams that I think could potentially make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised either way. The LA Kings have improved a lot, adding Kevin Fiala, which I think is really, really good. I think the LA Kings are definitely going to be fighting for that 3rd spot again in the Pacific, and we could see a very similar matchup where we see LA versus Edmonton in the playoffs again next season. I do, however, think the Minnesota Wild are in that same boat where they've definitely lost Fiala and they might lose Kaprizov, but I'm basing this based on Kaprizov being on the team. I think they're a maybe. The Montreal Canadiens, I have in how are you even in the NHL? Like, I'm sorry, Habs fans, but come on. Not yet. I don't think they're quite ready. We're filling up this maybe list a lot, but I'm going to have the Nashville Predators in maybe. I think this team is really good. Like, really good when they're all playing on their A game. When they're not, this team's kind of iffy. You saw it last year when some of their players really performed. I thought they were good. Roman Josi played so good. Duchesne had a really good season. Jeannot, I believe that's his name, their rookie, he had a really good season. I think this team needs to take another step and have another good season. Maybe make a couple more trades. But based off right now, I have them in maybe. Wouldn't be surprised if they made it. Wouldn't other way. Surprisingly, I have the New Jersey Devils in the same thing. I was actually kind of shocked. I was going to throw just a curveball out there and put them in should, but I'm going to leave them down in maybe. I still think they're a good team. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have them in almost zero shot because I think there's a chance they actually do it. New York Rangers, I'm going to put in cup faves. I think this team is actually really, really good. Like, really good. So they lost Andrew Copp, which I think really does hurt, but they were still a really good team without them. Kind of like Florida without Giroux. They were still a really good team in the regular season without Giroux. Just like the Rangers were really good without Copp. So I think it's going to be the same thing. I still think they're going to be really good. They can add another, if the season's going good, which it should, they can add another deadline addition, which will just bolster them for the playoffs. Ottawa Senators, I'm putting in should make the playoffs. I think this team with the Brinkat is nasty. Their defense is very young, but I think can improve. Their offense is incredible. I really wanted to throw in a hot take. I am on the Ottawa Senators hype train next season. I'm very excited to see this team play. I think they're really good. Philadelphia Flyers, a part of me wants to put in maybe, but a part of me wants to put in almost 0% shot. I'm going to be kind of rough here, and I'm going to put them in almost 0% shot. I am not sold on the Philadelphia Flyers. I feel like next season will blow up. I think Tortorella is just going to not work, to be honest, and I just think this team is not going to make it. Pittsburgh Penguins, it's really hard to not put them in maybe. I don't think they're like should make the playoffs. Like if they didn't do it for whatever reason, I wouldn't be shocked. Like they lost Letang, they lost Marino, they got Petrie in place of Marino, which doesn't make sense. Marino's a better defenseman in my opinion. I just wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make it. San Jose Sharks, I'm going to put an almost 0% shot. I just don't see this team making it. And following them, I'm going to put Seattle. Seattle just hasn't done anything to make them a better team into a team that I think is definitely going to make the playoffs or even maybe will. I just don't see them making it. St. Louis Blues, I'm going to put in should make the playoffs. I think this team, without a doubt, should make the playoffs. They're a very good team. They lost David Perron, but they're still a really good team. Tampa Bay Lightning, it's pretty self-explanatory to put them in cup faves. This team's nasty. You saw what they've done. Their resume speaks for itself. Jokes aside, I got Toronto in cup favorites as well. I think you can say what you want about Toronto, about their like choking in the playoffs and whatnot, but this team is a good team. Like they're a good team. They show it in the regular season. They just have to do it in the playoffs. They played really good against Tampa, and Tampa just 3-0 or 4-0'd Florida, which just shows how good Toronto played against them. The Canucks, a part of me wants to put them in should, but I'm just not sold yet. I'm going to put them in maybe. I think there's a % chance they make it. We've improved a lot. I think our offense is stellar. We got to improve on defense a little bit. And with Bruce being there full time, I wouldn't be surprised. Vegas, I'm also going to put in maybe. And Washington, I'm going to put in maybe. And Winnipeg and Calgary. We got a lot of maybe teams right there. Buffalo, yeah, my bad. I just think those teams, Vegas, wouldn't be surprised if they missed again. They lost Pacioretty for free. That hurts. They pretty much lost Pacioretty in order to sign Riley Smith, which makes no sense because I would rather Pacioretty over Riley Smith anyways. Washington, with Ovi on that team, I just wouldn't be surprised if they made it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Winnipeg Jets, truthfully, I think should make the playoffs, but I'm just not sold on it based off of last year and some internal stuff that's going on with Scheifele and everything. I'm not sold. And then the Calgary Flames without Gaudreau, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still not sold on this team making the playoffs next year, especially without Gaudreau. You just never know. Like, that could hurt their top line so much. So there you guys have it. I know this video was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I will do another one of these once the season starts and these teams look a little bit different, and then we'll compare it with this one, and then we'll just go from there, I guess. Maybe I'll do one once the playoffs start again. We'll look back at this and see how good I was. This is super duper early, like I said, so don't take this for anything. Like, don't trust this whatsoever. This is my opinion, super duper early before the season starts. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, let me know if you guys subscribed. Like the video if you enjoyed. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.